So here we are. I didn't get a chance to film up last night as I finished, so I'll give you a little update where I finished and then where I'm going today. I finished fitting the toe board piece. You can see the lines match up pretty well. The divots, reinforcements, whatever you want to call them, match up pretty well. Again, the issue with some of these aftermarket pieces is that the curves aren't as sharp as the originals, so they're not dead on exact in terms of like right. So I can point without getting in the way of it. Right, well, my finger's too big. At the edges just aren't quite as sharp, but I think I'll be able to deal with it when I weld it in and grind it down and make it look pretty well. So I got that fit done. Once again, I got kind of, those curves are difficult. I get a little bit too much of a gap there, so that's gonna have to be dealt with some MIG wire, or TIG wire, sorry. And then that fit, that lip matches up really well with the transmission tunnel piece from the underside. And then I got the spot weld locations drilled and ready to do. So that piece is ready to be welded in. Before I did that though, I wanted to go and move to this piece and get this all fitted and trimmed correctly before I welded the toe board in. Not sure it's going to make a difference, but I just wanted to get it fit in case there was any issues between the two. I didn't want to have that already welded in and then something that I'm doing on this causes that to be in the wrong place. I don't know, it's just more of me being anal and wanting to get everything fit up correctly. So the other thing I did last night was preliminarily trim this. This is the toe board. So all these pieces were bought from Classic Auto Industries. The toe boards and the rear floorboards that I've used come from a company in Taiwan, CHL. Don't know anything about them. The fits seem to be pretty good. This has a sticker on it, but it doesn't say where it's from, so I'm not sure if it's an AMD part, if it's I just don't know. But again, it was all ordered from Classic Auto, and the edges seem, the curves and everything again aren't as sharp, but they seem to match up pretty dang closely. You can see I've got so there was an edge, a lip that folded down on this side, which I cut off, and you can see my mistake over here. You can see the gap. So when I set this in here originally, I drew on the transmission tunnel the edge of the panel. Stupidly, I still had that lip on there and it sat up. Again, I pushed it down, but obviously I screwed it up. So I'll have to go put a lip back on there. That's not a big deal. But you can see it actually meshes up really well with the curves in there. Sucks up really nicely. This, I mentioned all the curves on these being very rounded and not as sharp. Interestingly, this ridge is much sharper than the original. You can see there. Not sure how I'm gonna handle that transition between the new one and the old one, but we'll deal with it. So what am I doing today? So my plan today is to get this final trimmed. I've got a little lip over here that I need to trim it to, and then an edge over here that I'll trim it to. So I want to get that done, and then if I have time I'll cut this piece, this sliver out, or cut a piece to put in there, and then weld that to the floor pan out on the bench, and then bring it back in here to trim. Alright, what we got today. I had some sanding to do on that rocker, inner rocker panel there that had some gunk on it. So I just sanded it down. There were a couple holes for the wire cover-ups and for the door sill. So I welded those up. I'm gonna put those back in, drill them and put them back in. They were a little wallered out, so welded them up and sanded them down. The front pan is in. I've got this edge done. This edge, just I need a little bit of a trimming right there on the edge, right there on that corner. The rest of this edge is pretty much done. So it actually looks very, very good. I'm happy the way it turned out. Had to notch it up there with I found some more rusted metal. What I was doing with this was I marked it from the bottom side with a Sharpie. Then I cut it with a body saw about 1/8 too big. And then I was using that little air belt sander, little 18-inch air belt sander, to kind of creep up on this and gap it just the way I wanted to. It takes a lot of time, I know. A lot of people probably don't think it needs to be done that way. It's just the way I wanted to do it. I want the gaps right, so for me it makes less welding and less grinding if you get the gaps right, which means less heat in the panels. That's just my preference. Not sure if it's the right way or not. It's just the way I like to do it. So you see that gap all the way around is pretty good. A couple places it's still tight, but I'll work on that tomorrow or the next day. So now all that's left is attaching, putting a flange on this to close up that gap. So yeah, everything. That again, the toe panel is already set up and done this morning. So today was all about this panel, and I've almost got it there. So it's a couple hours worth of work. So alright, so that's where we are for tonight. We are about an hour out here. This morning, this afternoon, whatever it is. I've got this back edge gapped the way I wanted. And then I had to do some beating into shape for these edges to kind of get those closer matched up. I had to do those as well. They're very, very close, and when you get this put down into place, you can see the gaps measured, size up really, really nicely. So that I'm really, really happy with. All the way up there, all the way over there. Interestingly enough, I keep saying that these reproduction parts have really soft edges. Interesting thing is, there was you can kind of see the faint line. There was an outline here on the original panel that was for the, I'm guessing for the seat track, because the seat track mounts right there. I'm not really sure why it goes so far down there, but I even checked on my original panel, and you can barely see it. And you can see there was a line over here on the original panel. You can't even, there's nothing there. So they actually stamped it better in the new panel than they did the original, and you can see it kind of fades out. So I kind of had to beat those into submission a little bit, flatten those out to make that size, that match back up. I think I'm going to leave that in there. I don't really feel like cutting in there and flattening all that out and re-welding it. I don't think that's necessary. And it may have been there originally, it just may be not very well defined, because this panel was pretty rusted right in this area, my originals, but I still can't find any evidence of that, really. So what's next? I need to cut the bottom of that out, the plug. I want it to look original, and I'm going to put the original body plugs back in, so I have to cut the 2 slots on either end, and then cut the bottom out of that. Again, I want it, it's just me being anal, I want it to look original from the bottom as well. So I want it to be very hard to tell that the fork pan pieces have been replaced. And then I also have to make a piece on that edge to fill that gap. You can see I just flat out screwed up that edge. That was just like me being stupid. So that's that. Let me come out here to the original piece that I have. I kept the originals when I cut them out until I'm done with it. So there's the original. So here's the outside piece. You can see the template I'm going to use for the slots and the hole, and then the seat track indentation, whatever you want to call it. You can kind of see there's a little bit of it right there, and maybe right there. I'm not sure how far it went, because this piece, you can kind of see the outline. This is one of my original horrible patches that I did with a flux core welder that just didn't turn out very well. So I'm not sure how far it went in there. So yeah, so that's the next step. I'll bring you back.